If you think personal flight is still 10 years away, stuck in some lab, waiting on a breakthrough that hasn't happened yet, you're working off outdated information. Nobody told you the truth, so here it is. Right now, there's a company that sells a flying aircraft for less than the price of a used sedan, and you don't need a pilot's license to own one. Right now, a Dutch commuter can drive their own car onto a runway, unfold a rotor, and take off legally on public roads today. Right now, a Japanese city has an aircraft flying paying passengers over its skyline on a fixed schedule, months ahead of what most industry analysts predicted. None of this is a concept render. None of this is a coming soon press release designed to hype up a funding round. These are machines with delivery dates, price tags, and real people strapped into them, filmed by news crews who couldn't quite believe what they were watching either. So here's the uncomfortable question this video is going to answer. If all of this is already real, why does almost nobody know about it? We're counting down 9 machines that are quietly rewriting what personal transportation means. Cheapest and strangest first, most accessible last. And by the end, you'll understand exactly why the flying car stopped being science fiction while most of the world wasn't paying attention. Let's get into it. Number 9. The Martin Jetpack, the comeback. Nobody saw coming this story starts with a warning about how close a genuinely brilliant idea can come to disappearing completely. Back in 2008, a strange, bulky rig of carbon fiber and aluminum rolled out at an air show in Oshkosh and looked like it had been lifted straight out of a pulp science fiction comic. It wasn't a rocket pack. It ran on a 2-liter V4 gasoline engine, putting out roughly 200 horsepower, driving a pair of ducted fans that pushed air straight down and lifted a pilot clean off the ground. That machine became the Martin Jetpack, built in Christchurch, New Zealand, and over the following years, more than 30 different prototypes got built and refined. By the time the design matured, the numbers were genuinely impressive for a one-person aircraft, an empty weight around 441 pounds, a payload capacity up to 265 pounds, a top speed near 46 miles per hour, a service ceiling above 8,200 feet, and roughly 30 minutes of flight time per tank, with a ballistic parachute ready to deploy in under half a second if anything went wrong. It was stable enough to hover motionless beside a skyscraper window. That got the attention of emergency responders fast. In 2015, Dubai's Civil Defense Agency ordered 20 units, betting that jetpacks could get a firefighter to the upper floors of the Burj Khalifa faster than any ladder truck ever could. And then, the story took a turn that has nothing to do with engineering. Between 2014 and 2017, a Chinese investment firm poured tens of millions of dollars into the company, but development costs kept outrunning the funding coming in. By July 2023, the company ran out of runway completely. Liquidators shut it down and auctioned off 7 prototype jetpacks along with mountains of engineering data. One prototype alone sold for $158,000. Everything else, the hardware, the designs, the intellectual property, went to an unnamed international buyer with plans to keep developing the technology elsewhere. Here's what makes that timing worth noting. The sale closed right as U.S. aviation regulators were finalizing new rules specifically covering powered lift aircraft. Whoever bought Martin's designs bought them right as the regulatory door was swinging open. Analysts tracking that market, already valued near $450 million and projected to grow roughly 5-fold within a decade, note that Martin's original design still holds the record for the best payload-to-weight ratio ever achieved by a ducted fan pack. If planned test flights go ahead in late 2026, the Martin Jetpack could get the second chance its engineering always deserved, not as a billionaire's novelty, but as a rescue tool that reaches the 30th floor of a burning building in under 30 seconds. Number 8. Toyota's Drivable Sphere, when engineers get told yes. In April 2025, something rolled out onto a test pad in Japan that looked less like a vehicle and more like an escaped aquarium exhibit. A perfectly clear sphere, roughly 6.5 feet wide, about the size of a large hot tub, glided smoothly across the pavement with a tiny 2-seat pod suspended inside it. Push the joystick, and the entire ball spun forward like a giant hamster wheel, carrying passengers instead of a rodent. This wasn't a corporate concept team. It was built by volunteers from the 20,000-member Toyota Engineering Society, and the full-scale version went from a model that fit in someone's palm to a working prototype in just 4 months. The glass-like clarity comes courtesy of a company called Shinshi, which normally builds massive acrylic viewing walls for aquariums large enough to hold tiger sharks. Their engineers curved, heated, polished, and fused the panels together until the seams essentially disappeared. The finished sphere weighs around 400 pounds, light enough for 2 people to roll by hand, with a minimal aluminum frame holding the passenger pod at the very bottom of the ball, letting gravity itself do most of the work keeping riders upright, rather than relying on seatbelts. 4 rubber-tired drive wheels, mounted to an inner cart and powered by electric hub motors pulled straight from Toyota's existing parts bins, handle propulsion. Early tests barely crept the thing 10 feet forward. After firmware updates, it's now hitting close to 10 miles per hour, with a true zero-turn radius that makes it absurdly good at tight curb-to-door navigation in crowded city streets. Don't expect to see one at a dealership anytime soon, though. Toyota is deploying it exclusively inside Woven City, their experimental smart city test bed near Mount Fuji, where conventional traffic rules don't apply, largely because the sphere currently has no suspension, no crash protection, and poor grip in the rain. Engineers are now chasing hill balancing software and a lithium iron phosphate battery upgrade that could push drive time past 30 minutes. Future versions are planned to use smart glass that darkens in sunlight and doubles as a heads-up display for speed and navigation. Number 7. The HLV Liberty. Drive to the runway, skip it entirely. On June 3, 2025, spotters at Breda International Airport watched a strange 3-wheeled coupe roll down the service road, swing its tail boom outward, unfold a massive 35-foot rotor, and lift off the ground in a slow, steady spiral. This wasn't a test flight tucked away from public view. It marked the aircraft's approval to operate directly out of the airport's new assembly and delivery facility. The vehicle is the HLV Liberty, a Dutch-engineered fly-drive gyroplane that's now fully street-legal across Europe. At a glance, it could pass for a futuristic sports trike, complete with gull-wing doors and a sculpted carbon fiber body, but hidden underneath are 2 Rotax 912IS engines, one driving the rear wheel on the road with 100 horsepower, the other powering the pusher propeller once airborne. Empty, it weighs around 1,465 pounds. Fully loaded for takeoff, it can carry roughly 595 pounds of payload, enough for 2 adults and luggage. On the road, it tops out near 100 miles per hour, with a range close to 820 miles on regular unleaded fuel. In the air, it cruises around 110 miles per hour, climbs to altitudes above 11,500 feet, and covers roughly 310 miles, or up to 4 hours of flight, before needing to refuel. Converting from car to aircraft takes about 5 minutes. A hydraulic mast raises the rotor, spring-loaded blades swing into position, and the tail extends an extra 3 feet for stability. Because the rotor auto-rotates freely, the Liberty can still glide to a safe landing even if both engines fail simultaneously. A genuine safety advantage over a pure helicopter design. Regulatory approval has moved unusually fast. The European Union Aviation Safety Agency finalized its certification basis in late 2024, and by April 2025 issued formal clearance for final flight testing and type approval. Road approval landed even earlier, meaning Dutch buyers can legally drive their aircraft straight out of the showroom and into the sky. A limited 90-unit Pioneer Edition sells for roughly $527,000, with a Sport Edition starting near $316,000. And within 6 weeks of reservations opening, over 300 orders had already come in, representing more than $150 million in potential sales. Number 6. RTOR's Skyrider X1, the bike that doesn't choose between roads and runways. In early January 2025, the show floor at CES in Las Vegas went quiet for a moment when a matte black scooter from a Chinese company called RTOR rolled forward, unfolded 4 carbon fiber arms, and simply lifted off the ground in front of the crowd. Not a display piece behind glass, a live demonstration of what they call the Skyrider X1. It's built around a street-legal electric moped chassis with a full vertical takeoff system bolted in. Each of the 4 arms carries 2 stacked propellers, 8 total, and once airborne, the wheels retract into the body. On landing, the arms fold back in, shrinking the whole machine down to roughly the width of an ordinary motorcycle. Flight logs released after the public demo show it climbing to around 656 feet and cruising steadily near 62 miles per hour. Flight time depends on which battery pack you choose. The entry-level version gives you a little over 25 minutes airborne, while the upgraded pack stretches that closer to 40 minutes, translating to nearly 40 miles of aerial range. On the ground, the hybrid powertrain extends the total range even further, up to roughly 112 miles per charge. Even with a rider aboard, the whole machine weighs only 176 pounds, lighter than most motorcycles, yet capable of climbing higher than most city skyscrapers. A triple redundant flight computer manages weather avoidance, route planning, and automated takeoffs and landings, and if every motor fails simultaneously mid-flight, a full-body ballistic parachute deploys from the rear. Piloting it reportedly feels closer to riding a dirt bike than flying an aircraft. Twist the throttle to climb, tilt the handlebars to turn, or hand the whole flight over to autopilot. During test flights over open water, the X1 transitioned from ground to hover in under 10 seconds and landed on amphibious skids without a single manual command. Priced between $50,000 and $60,000, a dramatic drop from the $1 million hoverbike prototypes floating around just a year earlier. Pre-orders reportedly sold out within 48 hours. Number 5. The ALF Model A, the car that turns sideways to fly. On June 6th, a crowd gathered around an old missile battery pad in San Mateo to watch something that sounded like a rumor until it happened in front of them. A sleek, mesh-covered coupe cruised down the access road like any quiet electric car, then spun 90 degrees, activated 8 hidden propellers, and lifted straight off the ground. This flight came almost 2 years after federal aviation regulators granted the company behind it the first-ever Special Airworthiness Certificate for a street-legal electric vertical takeoff aircraft, clearing them to run test routes over California farmland. Visually, the Model A looks like rolling sculpture, an open Art Deco-style grid of a body concealing 8 electric motors spinning carbon fiber propellers. Spreading the thrust across 8 points cuts down noise and keeps total weight low enough to satisfy ultralight aircraft rules during testing. In its production form, it's expected to weigh around 850 pounds empty, seat 2 adults, and still leave room for luggage, thanks to a lightweight composite frame with a structural battery pack built into the floor. On the road, it drives like an ordinary neighborhood EV, capped near 25 miles per hour to stay within legal limits for that mode. Tap the fly button on the dash though, and everything changes. The system checks surrounding airspace automatically, lifts the front wheels, reorients the propellers for vertical thrust, and once clear of nearby structures, rotates the entire body sideways, turning the car into a compact flying wing. Airborne, it cruises around 110 miles per hour with a range up to 110 miles. On the ground alone, expect roughly 200 miles per charge. Interest has moved fast. Reservations opened in late 2023, and by May 2025, the company reported over 3,400 pre-orders, more than $1 billion in potential sales. A leased 80,000 square foot production facility in San Jose and a scouted second site in Texas suggest they're aiming to eventually build more than 10,000 units a year. The pitch is simple: skip the traffic entirely, land in a parking lot, and drive the last block home without ever switching vehicles. Number 4. The Volonaut Airbike. No wings, no rotors, no explanation. Yet on the final day of April 2025, a short video quietly appeared online and sent social media into a frenzy almost overnight. In it, a sleek matte black machine swoops low across a forested Polish valley, hovers on what looks like an invisible cushion of thrust, and settles gently onto a dirt trail. No CGI, no visual trickery. It's a real flying vehicle called the Volonaut Airbike, developed in total secrecy for 2 years by the co-founder of the Jetson One. What makes it strange is what it doesn't have: no wings, no spinning rotors of any kind. Instead, small jet turbines are tucked inside a razor-thin, 3D-printed carbon fiber frame, a structure roughly 7 times lighter than a standard street-legal motorcycle, yet strong enough to withstand the forces of powered flight. Riders straddle it like a motocross bike, leaning into a fully unobstructed 360-degree view with nothing spinning nearby to obstruct it. A flight computer reads even tiny shifts in body weight and handlebar pressure, adjusting the jet nozzles automatically to keep the bike stable, whether it's hovering in place or moving at speed. The developer claims a top speed near 124 miles per hour, quiet enough to move through tight city streets without kicking up the turbulent rotor wash a helicopter would produce, though flight time currently caps out around 20 minutes per tank. 20 minutes doesn't sound like much until you realize it puts any destination within a roughly 10-mile radius just minutes away, enough to completely reshape a daily commute. Estimated to weigh under 90 pounds, its thrust-to-weight ratio reportedly beats many racing drones outright. Turbine specifics remain under wraps until patents are finalized, but the onboard flight helmet and controls borrow heavily from the Jetson One, which currently retails near $128,000. There's no official price or delivery date yet, but interest from first responders, search and rescue teams, and urban air mobility investors is already building, drawn to the idea of a rotor-free flyer that could land on a rooftop or inspect a pipeline in minutes instead of hours. Number 3. Hexa. Flying without ever earning a license. On a windy afternoon at Osaka's World Expo 2025, an aircraft with spindly, spider-like legs lifted quietly off a purpose-built vertiport, glided over a mirror-still reflecting pool, and touched back down almost silently. The craft, called Hexa, is a single-seat electric multicopter, and despite early rumors, it doesn't run on 8 propellers. It runs on 18, each with its own motor, drawing power from quick-swap lithium-ion battery packs. That setup delivers around 15 minutes of flight time, plus a safety reserve, cruising near 63 miles per hour and climbing to roughly 1,200 feet. The carbon fiber frame includes flotation pontoons and a ballistic parachute, and the whole aircraft stays under the 254-pound weight threshold that qualifies it as an ultralight vehicle under U.S. federal rules, meaning anyone can legally fly it after a short virtual reality training course. No pilot's license required. Japan actually got there first. Back in March 2023, test flights near Osaka Bay confirmed Hexa's noise output stays below 65 decibels from 50 yards away, about the volume of a normal conversation. Since then, more than 200 people between the ages of 16 and 72 have trained on VR simulators built to match its single joystick control scheme, and most describe the first flight as feeling closer to a video game than to piloting a real aircraft. A triple redundant flight system quietly handles stability and battery management in the background the entire time. The company doesn't sell these to individual buyers. Instead, it runs them like a flight-based amusement ride. Sessions launched in Florida in early 2024, around $250 each, and now Expo visitors in Osaka can book 10-minute Skyline flights directly from the vertiport, alongside a self-driving AI suitcase that guides both sighted and visually impaired guests to the launch pad using voice prompts. Even if up to 6 of its 18 motors fail simultaneously, Hexa stays airborne, and in a true worst-case scenario, its parachute deploys in under 0.6 seconds. Number 2. SkyDrive's SD-05. Japan's answer to the flying taxi race early in 2025. At Osaka's newly opened vertiport, SkyDrive's 3-seat SD-05 lifted off the pad, climbed to about 16 feet, hovered steadily for roughly 4 minutes in front of a stunned crowd of journalists, and touched back down without incident. That remote-piloted demonstration, held just days before the World Expo officially opened, marked the first time this aircraft had been shown at full production scale in public. The finished SD-05 spans over 37 feet in both length and width and stands just under 10 feet tall, with a clamshell-style cabin seating a pilot and 2 passengers. 12 whisper-quiet electric rotors, arranged in 6 coaxial pairs, provide both vertical lift and built-in redundancy. If one motor fails, the rest keep the aircraft flying and land it safely regardless. Current specs list a cruising speed near 62 miles per hour, a baseline range around 9 miles, and flight times between 5 and 10 minutes. Modest numbers today, but engineers say improved battery systems already in development could extend that range to somewhere between 19 and 25 miles within the next 2 years. One clever detail: the modular battery pack can be swapped out in seconds, pit stop style, so the aircraft can get back into the air almost immediately, rather than sitting through a long recharge. Expo organizers previewed a set of planned urban flight corridors connecting several Osaka districts along the waterfront, with passenger service expected to begin once Japan's Civil Aviation Bureau finalizes type certification. If SkyDrive hits that timeline, it'll still be trailing China slightly. EHang's autonomous 2-seat EH216-S already secured the world's first official air taxi operating certificate and is preparing sightseeing flights over Guangzhou and Shanghai. But SkyDrive has a track record of firsts of its own. Its earlier single-seat prototype completed a manned flight back in 2020, well before most competitors had left the drawing board, and now, partnered with Suzuki for full-scale manufacturing, it's positioned to be one of the first flying taxis regular passengers actually board. Number 1. The pivotal Helix, the one that actually solves the whole problem. Every machine on this list solves one piece of the puzzle: range or price or ease of use or legal accessibility, usually at the cost of one of the others. This last one is the first to genuinely solve all of them at once, which is exactly why it earns the top spot. Just after sunrise on May 4th, a crowd gathered outside a hangar in Palo Alto and watched a sleek black aircraft rise straight up, tilt its nose forward, and glide off down the runway at around 60 miles per hour, smooth and quiet enough that it looked more like watching a large drone lift off than a traditional aircraft taking flight. 8 electric propellers hum rather than roar, and for a lot of the people watching, this was the clearest proof yet that personal flight could genuinely be simple, safe, and already real. The aircraft, called Helix, was designed specifically to stay within US ultralight aircraft rules, which means no pilot's license is required to fly it. Its carbon fiber body, built-in floats, and emergency parachute keep the empty weight right at the legal ultralight limit, while still supporting a pilot weighing up to 220 pounds. It cruises around 63 miles per hour, and its 8 kilowatt-hour battery delivers over 20 miles of range on a single charge. Once it passes roughly 35 miles per hour, its fixed wings start generating lift too, stretching efficiency further. Flying it is fly-by-wire and genuinely intuitive. Push the joystick forward, the whole frame tilts forward. A network of triple redundant onboard computers constantly tracks motor temperature, battery health, and flight angle, ready to take over and execute a smooth automatic landing if anything goes wrong, with a full aircraft parachute as the final backstop, deploying in under half a second if needed. Orders opened in January 2024 with a base price near $19,000 and a 25% deposit, a price point that puts it closer to a used car than an aircraft. Deliveries were pushed back slightly after early testers asked for more legroom and a better glare shield, both added at no extra cost. Every buyer completes a 3-day training program, combining VR instruction with 7 supervised real flights before being handed the keys and a custom-fitted helmet. One aviation writer summed it up as the easiest pilot's license you never actually needed to earn. It's not just a novelty either. San Bernardino County firefighters have already tested it in rescue simulations, crossing what would normally be 20 miles of gridlocked highway in under 20 minutes and landing in a space no wider than a pickup truck. Look at what these 9 machines actually add up to: a jetpack that nearly died in liquidation and is quietly clawing its way back, a transparent rolling sphere built by volunteer engineers in 4 months, a car that drives out of a European airport and straight into the sky, a scooter that folds its arms in and rides home after flying over gridlock, a jet-powered bike with no rotors and no official price tag yet, an aircraft you can fly without ever earning a license, a car that spins sideways mid-flight, a 3-seat air taxi already carrying journalists over Osaka, and a $19,000 personal aircraft that firefighters are already testing for real rescues. None of that is a prediction about the future. That's a list of things that already happened, most of them within the last 18 months, almost entirely outside the headlines most people actually read. The technology stopped being the bottleneck a while ago. What's actually changing right now is who gets access to it, how fast, and at what price. And based on everything on this list, that price is dropping faster than almost anyone expected. So the real question isn't whether personal flight is coming. It's whether you'll still be stuck in traffic when your neighbor isn't. Which of these 9 would you actually trust with your commute? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And remember, every machine on this list was considered impossible right up until someone stopped waiting for permission and built it anyway.